Hello, welcome to our 5th webinar in the series, What to Expect from Your ERP System. I'm Ruthie Sloan, Marketing Specialist for Revolution Group, and I'll be your host for our discussion today on ERP analysis. I have a few housekeeping items. We will be recording this session to post on our website, so if you would like to share today's information or revisit it, you'll be able to do so. At the end, we will have a Q&A session, so please feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. Just type them into your control panel on your screen. We will do our best to answer all of the questions at the end. I'm excited to tell you we will be extending our webinar series to the end of 2015. Be sure to check the Revolution Group website for future updates and times as they are announced. I'm pleased to welcome Marty Statz of Revolution Group and John Giovanni of Plex Systems as they discuss ROI and value analysis. For those of you who don't know us, Revolution Group is a Central Ohio-based technology solutions provider founded in 1995. Our partnerships with Plex, Salesforce, Adaptive Planning, and Microsoft allow us the expertise and resources necessary to facilitate our customers' growth. We have been extremely successful in helping our customers leverage technology to revolutionize their supply chains and improve their business. On our staff, we are privileged to have ERP implementation consultants, custom developers, ERP analysts, with years of manufacturing and supply chain experience. Marty is a senior ERP consultant with Revolution Group and has over 10 years of hands-on system deployment leadership experience. His in-depth expertise in deploying fully integrated solutions helps our customers leverage technologies and best practices to grow and transform their businesses. John is the Director of Vision Programs at Plex and has over 25 years of management consulting, business development, and manufacturing experience. The Vision team works with prospects and customers to identify opportunities for improvement and quantify the associated values of their Plex solution. Before joining Plex, John had senior management positions at Oracle and was an independent consultant specializing in business transformation and process re-engineering. It is now my pleasure to introduce Marty Statz.
Thank you, Ruthie. Good afternoon, everyone. If you're joining us today, obviously you have some interest in pursuing a new ERP solution for your organization. With that being said, Gartner Research in a recent 2015 strategic roadmap issued the following quotation: ERP systems are no longer lean, efficient business application backbones. Instead, they have lost business relevance and agility and have become bloated, fed by the objective of achieving an all-encompassing mega suite. The reality is that these environments have become too large to change at the pace of business needs or to reflect the flexibility and innovation needed by business. So obviously, one of your tasks is you're going to have to weed through all of the potential solutions in some of these old traditional dinosaurs to find a system that meets your needs and works for you. So today we're going to be discussing some of the information and methodologies that you could utilize in helping you with that search. One of the common mistakes we see out there is when an organization pursues a new ERP solution, they treat it as just another IT project. That couldn't be further from the truth. With an ERP solution, since it will be touching all functional areas of your organization, it is important that you enlist those functional leads in the evaluation and selection processes to make sure that everyone's needs are met as much as possible. So why do you need a new system? Well, obviously the reason you're here is probably because you're growing to the point where you need a solution, or that you are outgrowing your current legacy systems. So in today's manufacturing environment, it's becoming more and more complex based on the requirements of our customers. So it's important that you have the right tools to utilize in continuing to thrive in this business environment. So what are some of the drivers for exploring new systems? Typically, we see it's inconsistent or questionable data in various business units, and especially if they're integrated, inconsistency or inaccuracy in one area can drive the same results in other functional areas. Costly manual data entry into systems. You know, unless you're deploying new technologies, you might be currently confined to, manually keying in information into your system. And of course, that is very timely and very costly. Duplication of data into non-integrated systems. If you have disparate systems, if you're not integrated across all your business functions, then it may be necessary to support multiple applications, and therefore, again, you may be duplicating the data inputs. High inventory overstock resulting from some of those inaccuracies we discussed earlier. Lengthy inventory reconciliation and financial month-end closing. Inability to scale legacy systems. In other words, you may have customer demands or requirements that, as we've seen, are ever evolving, and you may not have the capabilities to meet those requests or requirements with your current legacy system. Frequent errors and delays between the customer orders and customer shipments. So there could be some problems with your current legacy system that drives a longer supply chain and could cause you the risk of not fulfilling your customers' demands. Delays in action and problem solution affect quality and productivity, and industry changes or demands, again, that maybe they're not imposed by your customers, but some other governmental legislations or regulations that may cause you to look for something that's not currently supported in your current legacy system. So one of the first things we suggest when you're looking for a new ERP solution is, first of all, you have to determine what are your business goals. What do you need now? What do you need in the future? How does this new solution help you deliver those goals? What criteria for success, and how do we measure those? Obviously, some of those may be very quantitative, but some of those are qualitative or subjective, and you're going to have to find ways to monitor that to make sure that you are achieving what your goals are. And what are your key performance indicators? What are the metrics to drive your organization? One thing, too, to keep in mind is your business initiatives. In your business planning, whether you plan on an annual basis or more frequently than that, obviously you have business initiatives in place, and how will the new system help you achieve those initiatives and also track your progress towards meeting those initiatives. In those areas, it could be in relations of customer relationship management, shop floor manufacturing, inventory management, cost reductions. In a quote by Aberdeen Group, they discussed the importance of keeping in mind the ROI in this selection and evaluation process. Companies gain the most benefits from their ERP solution if the possible return on investment was identified before the start of the ERP project and is measured continuously throughout the implementation process. That being said, one thing to do a proper ROI analysis is you have to, first of all, take into account what is the current cost of maintaining your legacy systems. Of course, there may be hardware infrastructure investments needed and also investments needed to maintain the technology, software revision upgrades, software licensing and subscriptions, software maintenance, and the cost to customize or scale the current software. Also, too, there's a cost of inefficiency. We discussed earlier the redundant tasks, the maintaining disparate systems, potential opportunity loss, and also wastes in the organization. When you're looking towards a new ERP solution, you're going to have to look at whether, again, that you're going to have to make hardware or infrastructure investment. And if it is a cloud-based solution, you may free yourself of that and also the maintenance associated with that hardware and infrastructure. You may continue to have software licensing and subscription fees and also maintenance fees. And as you have to take into account your deployment costs, both external resources if you engage with a consultant to assist you in the deployment of the new solution, and also too you have to factor in the time of your internal resources in their dedication to the project. So how will you measure ERP success? Obviously, you're going to have certain objectives that need to be met. And of course, we talked before that you're going to have to monitor and measure the performance against those metrics. So you may want better inventory management. So you're going to have to look at inventory turns, inventory accuracies, enhanced customer service, streamlined use of resources, optimum business integration, improved compliance, production efficiencies, both by equipment and also by labor, increased profitability, productivity gains, lower material cost, decreased labor cost, reduced level of inventory, lower administrative costs, and reduced compliance costs. So when you are calculating your ROI, you have to look at all the costs, and you're going to have to look at the benefits and to help you derive the return on investment point. So as you're looking for a new solution, obviously you're going to have to do some research in the marketplace. What you're going to be faced with are a number of solutions, and you're going to have to gauge what best fits your organization, whether it's an off-the-shelf, mid-market, or enterprise solution, whether it's a fully integrated, best of breed, if it's a on-premise, hosted, or cloud solution, and whether you're going to have to make an upfront investment or it's going to be a monthly subscription. We all know who the big players are out there. You've probably, if you've watched golf tournaments, you've probably seen commercials from some of the large players. But just don't be confused that just because they may have name recognition, they may not be the best solution for your organization. So you're going to have to look at some of these tried and true, but also to keep in mind what your objectives are and what your business requirements are, and look out there for maybe some of the more cutting edge solutions that might be a better fit for your organization. When you're searching the marketplace, you're going to have to do web research. You're going to have to count on the analysis by industry analysts. You may look to your suppliers, customers, or peers. Look at what solutions they're using. See how well they're adapted to your industry. You're going to look at industry publications and websites, maybe attend trade shows, talk to the representatives of those organizations, and also to possible attending software shootouts. Of course, you have a number of business functions within your organization. As you can see listed here, it's going to be very important that, again, that you enlist all the subject matter experts from your organization in these areas. to help them review all the potential solutions and help them or enlist their need or their opinions in the selection process. Also, one thing to keep in mind, just because of your size doesn't necessarily mean that the process complexity mirrors that size of the organization. If you're a small organization, you may be very complex, and also we've seen very large organizations are fairly simplistic in their needs. So again, you're going to have to look at the move-in ready solutions out there, or the build-on solutions, the ones that may be highly configurable. You're going to have to determine what your processes are, whether it's processed products or discrete products. You look towards industry norms, requirements, regulations, distribution methods. Who are your customers, whether they're business to business or business to consumer. What your priorities are, and whether you're a job shop environment or a repetitive manufacturing environment. Just as an FYI, here are some of the top selection criteria we've seen for why organizations are choosing certain ERP solutions. Number one is functionality. Number two, ease of use. Number three is total cost of ownership, which really can be a factor of the first two criteria. Ease of speed and implementation. Integration technologies and capabilities, time to value, and last is software cost itself. So if you're only analyzing the solutions based on the initial software cost, you may be missing the boat on how it fits your organization. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to John now, and he's going to talk about some of the methodologies he deploys in analyzing and selecting a solution and how he supports his customers.
Thanks, Marty, and hi everyone. As Marty said, I'm going to walk us through a little bit of how Plex can help you through this whole journey. I think Marty did a great job of sort of talking about all the different things you need to look at, and it can be a little daunting, as I'm sure most of you have probably been through this before and realize how daunting it can actually be. So what I want to do is, is try to just kind of walk through some of the ways Plex can help you. So first of all, one of the first things Marty said is that this can't just be an IT project. So we have a program at Plex called Vision. And the main focus of Vision is really aligning the business strategies with the IT strategies for our prospects and customers. Right? So what we want to do is take a continuous improvement approach here. And it's really, again, sort of a PDCA model where we want to identify the opportunities, and we take a real business process approach here. And we want to look at industry trends. As Marty said, maybe there's some new regulatory requirements coming down the pike, or some different things in your industry that are causing you the need for change. We're going to take all these things into consideration as we sort of do a detailed analysis of the key business processes that you're working with. We then want to quantify what's going on in your business, and we have some ways. We're going to get into that in a little bit more detail, but we want to make sure we understand the key performance indicators that are going to help you drive your business. And we also want to make sure that we're benchmarking you against peers, or against, maybe you want to take a look at some really well-run companies outside of your industry to see if there's some things you want to replicate the way they run their business. So really quantifying sort of the current situation, getting some benchmark data to help us understand where we are today and where we want to be. And then using all the things that Marty just walked through about how do we define what the ROI is, if there's a TCO required, if you're looking at different types of solutions, if you're looking at on-premise solution versus a cloud-based solution or a hosted solution. There's all these different things that can get into the calculations and get into the cost associated with those, and the benefits of those too. So we want to make sure that we're really doing a good job on really doing that upfront analysis for you. Then the next thing is we want to define a vision. We want to work with you to understand sort of, again, how this project's going to align to your business strategies. We can help you do risk assessments and really work with folks from Revolution Group to make sure that we're putting in the appropriate implementation plan to get you from where you want to be to where you want to get to. I'm sorry, where you are to where you want to get to. And then the last thing is we don't just walk away from you after you've hopefully made the right choice and gone with Plex and Revolution Group. We want to make sure that we're working with you beyond the implementation, throughout the implementation and beyond, to make sure that the benefits that we thought we each agreed you were going to get from this whole project, you're going to get those, you can actually be able to realize those benefits. And if not, we can understand what happened. Maybe our priorities change, maybe your business changed a little bit, and how can we adjust and move forward? So these are the four major components of the what we call our vision program. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of this in some detail with you. So the first thing is, again, Marty talked through all the different things that you need to measure in your business, and it's amazing how many companies we go into where it's really hard to get at this data, whether they have disparate systems, whether they're using a bunch of different Excel spreadsheets to collect stuff, and it's not real time. So the first thing we really want to do when we're looking at the KPIs is which ones are really best for your business. Sometimes some of these KPIs can be can almost be duplicate in effort too, or they can be even conflicting in effort too. So we want to understand, are you Six Sigma or are you Lean? Are you Lean Six Sigma? Are you looking at EBITDA? Are you looking at cost of goods sold? What are the types of things that are really going to help you drive efficiencies in your business and understand what's important to make your business run? So again, just knowing what all these little acronyms are is an important first step. The other thing too is we often see that it's not consistently measured. Some of these may seem like they're very basic metrics, but I've walked into many, many companies that one division might be calculating something slightly different, or they might be not calculating it quite the same way that a benchmark that's being used is calculated. So not only do we want to define what the right KPI is, but we want to make sure that we're collecting it appropriately. We're collecting and measuring that KPI appropriately. The next thing that's key in my mind is benchmarking, and this is something that is really going to help you get an objective view of what's going on in your business. So we work with a company called APQC. You folks might be familiar with them. Some of you may already be using APQC, but we've partnered with them to get a bunch of KPIs. We have over 40 KPIs that we have ready access to. We can get access to literally thousands of others, but we've really chosen 40 that we think are key to the customers that we're serving. And we've also got those KPIs around different industries that we serve, as well as different revenue bands. So we can really hone in on your particular company and compare you to peers in your industry and peers that are the same size as you to really get a good understanding as to how your performance compares to folks in those other industries and in those revenue bands. And why is that important? It really gives you an idea of how well you're doing, but can also give you a really good idea of what types of goals you might be able to put in place to get from where you are today to where you want to be. Many times we'll go in and see folks that are measuring, but they don't know whether that measure is good or not, right? They don't know. I've seen folks say that 95% inventory accuracy is good. Well, if you look at industry benchmarks, you'll see that that's really not all that good. Or maybe your turns you think are good, or your cost of goods sold is good. But again, unless you're really comparing that with other folks that are peers, you may not really be getting the most you can out of collecting that information. So again, benchmarking is key. We have access to a bunch of different benchmarks so we can work with you on. The other thing too is we've sort of defined a process for how we go through defining a roadmap for you. So it's similar to some of the things we've talked about already. So we'll define that scope. One of the things we really want to make sure is that we have executive alignment. And to be honest, we don't really want to engage with a customer that doesn't have that executive alignment. Too many times we've seen projects fail because it's not seen as a priority in the business, and the real effort that's needed is not there because folks are getting pulled off to do other things. So one of the first things we want to do is make sure that we have executive alignment, that they understand the scope of what we're going to be working on, and then we will pull together the team from your organization that's effectively aligned to that scope. So in almost all cases, we're going to have information technology folks. We're almost always going to have accounting and finance folks. And then depending on the functional areas that we're going to be are working through it, we'll pull people from those organizations to make sure that we get the right information, we're correctly really getting at what the current situation looks like, and actually identifying where the opportunities for improvement are. So we'll sort of work through this, defining the scope, doing that process review, doing the solution development, and then what we like to do actually is have the project team present the results back to the executive team, because it doesn't want to be really the Plex and Revolution Group project. It needs to be owned by the people within your organization. Right? So we want to make sure that we validate everything that we find with the folks on the project team, and we want to make sure that they're bought into it and they really understand that, yes, if we do these types of things, we're going to be able to improve our business. The other thing, too, is we're not going to look at just technology here. We want to look at people, process, and technology to make sure that we're really getting at all the different things that can really help your business. From our side, we're going to bring folks from Plex. We're going to bring folks from Revolution Group. We're going to bring the appropriate people into the mix to make sure that we have that industry expertise and that product expertise on our side to make sure that we can do the most for your business. So this is the kind of process that we'll walk through. The other thing, too, is that we take a very process framework approach here, too. We want to make sure that we've identified the areas that we could potentially affect your business. So we use this process framework, again, that APQC has kind of developed that really walks through basically everything that would be required within your manufacturing business, from program management to customer sales management, all the way through to quality, and then all the back office things associated with that too, like the accounting side, financial planning, all those types of things. And we're also going to identify how the technology is going to help enable some of these things too. Things like mobility and the scalability of solutions and workflow. These are all key things that you really need to take into consideration to make sure that you're addressing the entire scope of your business. So we take a real look at which areas within this process framework are going to be in scope within the project that we're going to work with you on. The other thing, too, is, as Marty mentioned, a business case is really, really key to this. And the quote here is from a study that Simon Jacobson from Gartner did. He's done this study over the last couple of years on the success of MES projects. And it was pretty interesting to me to see that for the last 2 years, the #1 reason why MES projects failed was because of a lack of a clear understanding as to what the business case was, what the ROI was, and what the goals were of this project. And I think it's kind of commonsensical if you think about it. If you don't understand what the return is going to be, and you don't understand what the benefits of this project are going to be, then you really do stand a pretty good chance of that project failing. Because folks are not going to really be rallying behind it and really understanding why they're doing some of these things. So the business case components that we can help you with are really identifying those benefits and then quantifying those benefits. If you're looking at multiple solutions, we can do total cost of ownership and compare sort of a hosted solution with an on-prem solution with a cloud solution. We can compare multiple types of solutions. We can help you kind of get at that TCO. And then what I think is most important is really that ROI analysis. And we can do all sorts of different variations on that. We can do cash flow. We can do net present value. We can do whatever you need, to really get down to really selling this within your business. Because again, the financial folks really want to make sure that they're investing this money appropriately, and they want to make sure there is the appropriate return on investment. That value realization piece, we already talked about this a little bit too, but I want to repeat it a little bit. It's very, very important that we're not going to walk away from you once again you've made that right decision and you've gone with Plex and Revolution Group. We want to work with you throughout the implementation process to make sure that we've identified the right metrics and we've sort of put that line in the sand as to how things are performing. And we want to come back on a periodic basis, whether it's 6 months, a year, after the implementation, to make sure that you have realized those benefits that we all agreed that the different changes that we made to your business we're going to enable. So again, very, very important that this piece gets done. If you don't do it, you're going to be setting yourself up even if the project does go through, you're not going to get the benefits that you really could if you did this well and you did it up front. And then I just wanted to talk about some of the typical benefits that we see, and we've got literally dozens of customer examples of companies that we've worked with over the year. But on the business benefit side, we see a lot of improvements. Marty sort of walked through that high level of the types of improvements you could see. We have tons of companies that are have great examples of reduction in inventory and different levels of inventory too. Maybe they went into it with an issue with WIP inventory, and we could focus on that. We see a lot of benefits around reduction of manpower because of disparate systems that have sort of grown out of these legacy systems that didn't meet the needs of everything. So there's all these sort of bolt-on solutions and Excel spreadsheets that are really dragging down the manpower requirements. So we typically see really good improvements in manufacturing efficiency. They're going to help with things like COGS, and we see huge benefits around cost of poor quality. Marty talked about improvements from order management and from making sure that the orders are getting into the system correctly and that shipping knows what needs to be ordered, what the priorities are. So that's going to help things like cash-to-cash cycle times. So these are all things that we have, really great examples, and customers that really like to talk about the benefits that they've achieved with Plex in these areas. The other thing that's important too is the cost of IT. So I think there's just an inherent benefit with the Plex SaaS model, and again, it's basically what everybody's trying to get to, but we really are the only ones that have this real end-to-end SaaS solution. Whether you're talking about a complete ERP system or whether you're talking just about an MES system, we're really the only ones that can provide that in a true SaaS cloud model. And the costs are really evident, and I think Intiva is a great example of that, where they reduced, by going to Plex, they reduced their overall cost of IT as a percent of revenue to below 1% of revenue versus a greater than 2% of revenue before Plex. So again, these are things that we can work with you on and sort of help you identify where you are today and some of the improvements that you could get to. And then there's quantitative benefits that we've just discussed, but there's also a ton of qualitative things that come out of this that we're going to identify as we go through this vision process as well. Many of these things, maybe they're just not easily quantifiable, but that, you can just tell that they're helping your business. So, things like an integrated document management system, the ability to have the right documentation available to the right people at the right place at the right time is key. Again, it might be tough to quantify that, but it's going to save in all sorts of costs associated with manual paperwork and manual documentation, but it's also going to give you major improvements with again, being able to produce a quality product in a timely fashion. The ability to do reporting much more easily because you have an integrated end-to-end system and you have this real-time nature of Plex that allows you to do real-time reporting. I think that's, again, something hard to quantify, but it's a qualitative thing that's really going to help you run your business better. Then the other thing, Marty alluded to this a little bit before too, the Plex model really doesn't require you to ever do an upgrade. So it's just the way we do business, and it's really sort of special to Plex is that in most other solutions you're going to have to do some sort of upgrade, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road. These vendors are actually most other vendors are actually putting enhancements into their system that require you to do an upgrade, and in some cases to do a re-implementation. So again, that's those types of qualitative benefits. You don't ever have to do that with Plex. That's something that I think is a huge benefit that, again, is sometimes tough to quantify, but definitely going to help you run your business better. So with that, the last thing I want to do is kind of walk through some roadmap examples of some of the roadmap deliverables, just to kind of give you a flavor for some of the things that you'll be getting. So you will get a process assessment. We'll go through and identify the opportunity areas. We'll identify how we think you can improve that. We'll help you prioritize those, and then also identify the value associated with addressing each one of those opportunity areas. As I mentioned before, we'll help you do benchmarking. We'll We'll benchmark against some of those key KPIs that we defined up front, and we'll benchmark them against the industry and revenue bands that are most appropriate, and sort of provide where you are today and where you want to get to for that objective view. We can help you with risk assessment, things like, how capable is your organization to take on a project like this? Do you have the skill sets, to actually pull this off? Things like that can really sort of add into the whole risk of doing a project like this. We'll work with folks from Revolution Group to put together a phased implementation plan to make sure that we're, really, doing this so it's as least disruptive to the business, but actually getting to that time to value as quickly as possible. And then we'll provide the ROI analysis that we talked about earlier too. We'll identify, the one thing that we will be too is we're going to be very conservative with these types of numbers because of that value realization piece. We're not going to promise the world and say we're going to save you millions and millions of dollars because of that value realization piece. We're going to come back in after, and we really want to make sure that the numbers that we all agreed on are really achievable there too. So you'll see that our benefit and ROI analysis are usually very, very conservative. But again, it's going to meet the needs of your business. So with that, Ruthie, I think we can open it up to questions.
Thank you both very much for that great presentation. That was great information. We are going to do Q&A. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to submit those. You should be able to do that through your screen there, and those will be submitted here to me, and I will moderate any questions that we have. We'll wait just a few minutes to see if any questions come in. Gentlemen, you presented a lot of information today. What is the first step if somebody is just starting down this process? What would you recommend as the first step?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is look at the goals of your organization, what your business planning initiatives are, what the objectives are for the new system, and then you have to create a good knowledge foundation of what your needs are, maybe discussions with the subject matter experts in each of the functional areas, really to kind of put together a list of the needs and the wants in respect to the new system so that you can utilize that in the evaluation process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Marty. The one thing I would add to that, though, is just make sure that this is seen as a priority for your executive team, too. I mean, again, if you don't have that executive alignment and they're not involved in that kind of stuff, then I think it's, again, I've seen, projects go through. It's just not going to be as successful as, making sure that you really do have that executive alignment and that executive sponsorship.
And I think what John said too, the benchmarking is invaluable here because sometimes maybe the executives may lose touch with where they are and where their competitors are in the industry as far as performance goes. So that benchmarking activity John can provide can give you a good evaluation of your organization, where you're at and where your competitors are at. And so that can maybe point to certain gaps that you're going to have to narrow to be able to compete in the future.
That's a great point. Again, it's objective too. It's not, we're using a third party that this is all they do is benchmark. So it's, and they literally work with thousands and thousands of other companies. So it's an objective view of things as well. Good point, Marty.
I don't see any other questions, so we will adjourn for now. Thank you both again for that information. If you have any further questions or would like to discuss how we can help you with your ERP needs, please don't hesitate to contact us here at Revolution Group. Our contact information is up on the screen. And be sure to register for the rest of our extended webinar series, What to Expect from Your ERP System. Once again, thank you both, Marty and John, and thank you everyone for attending. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care.